Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to a little cozy sketchbook session. I've really been in the mood to just paint in my sketchbook lately, just fun, low pressure things, honestly, selfishly for me. Making Instagram reels requires me to be going in and out of my creative state to film every 5 minutes, which honestly, it's kind of annoying. So for this sketchbook painting, I decided to just turn my overhead camera on and
let it be what it be.
We'll keep this little sketchbook session between us. So I've really been trying to embrace my thematic style and paint more of what I love, cozy little creatures or scenes, or even just cozy props. Y'all know I'm a sucker for prop painting. This piece actually started in a different sketchbook with a couple of messy little doodles and thumbnails, but I really wanted to paint it in my mixed media sketchbook versus painting it on loose paper. I don't know why, but painting in a sketchbook completely changes my mindset going into a piece. My headspace goes from stiff and methodical to more loose and playful. I could have attempted this on a loose piece of watercolor paper, and I guarantee you it would have turned out entirely different. But something about a sketchbook makes me, a little bit more daring. I'm using my Massari mixed media sketchbook here, and I had taken a poll over on Instagram on whether or not to use gouache or markers for this, and the overwhelming response was gouache. That being said, I was kind of leaning more toward the markers, and I'm gonna be honest, I was fully prepared to completely ignore everyone and use the markers until I realized that I had done another marker sketch on the other side of the paper and it had bled through. The fates of art commanded it, so I used the gouache. A couple bits of the markers still ended up peeking through the gouache, but honestly, I kind of liked the pops of color here and there. Now I was really feeling this analogous green, red, yellow color scheme for this one, so I used primarily Winsor Red, Permanent Yellow Deep, Permanent Green Middle, Primary Yellow, and Yellow Ochre. I wanted this cozy, kind of early autumn vibe. Just this plant-loving, coffee-sipping business chick working in her home office. I've really been trying to practice painting plants too lately, and this was a really low-pressure opportunity to do that. Now I'm gonna be 100% honest, I was ready to give up in about the first hour of this painting. Lately, I've just been really fighting with painting faces. I wasn't confident in my color choices, and also it was Friday and I was ready to be done. You'll see my battle with this face throughout the entire video. But again, because this was a sketchbook page and I didn't really have a specific deadline, I got it to a point that I felt slightly better about and set it aside for a few days. Whenever a painting's giving me a lot of grief, I try to just let myself put it away for a few days and come back to it with fresh eyes. More often than not, a painting isn't really as bad as you think it is. Or maybe it is as bad as you think it is, but now you can look at it with a new perspective, see what areas need fixing, and have a better idea of how to fix them. You're not giving up on the painting, you're just giving yourself some space. All good relationships need space now and then, and that includes the relationship between you and your art. So the next day, I was feeling a little jealous of all of the cool Inktober pieces that I was seeing, so I decided to do a little inky bits and bobbles autumn illustration. It was one of those really carefree paintings that I felt really good about and gave me a really good attitude to start back in on the other painting in the following week. So Monday came, and the painting did look a little bit better than I had remembered it, but I could also see some areas that I really wanted to fix. For instance, the highlights on her hair looked way too intense for the lighting of the scene, and the back wall also was looking really flat. That board beside her arm was originally going to be a little shelf of books, and then I decided that I didn't really want to paint that. So I turned it into another picture frame instead. I remembered that I wasn't obligated to follow the original concept, and I thought that this choice would better separate the character from the background. So I added a little pizzazz to some of the frames, and then started in on the character's outfit. Fun fact, overalls are actually the best type of clothing, and I'm ready to fight to the death on that statement. Surprisingly, they beat out joggers for me, which is really saying something. I don't know, man, I just didn't used to be an overalls person, but I just happened to find a couple of pairs that were literally the coziest thing that I have ever existed in. Long story short, I was ready to express this new love in a painting, and once I saw this chick in my sketchbook, I was like,
yes, this boss lady deserves a really cozy pair of overalls, but not just any overalls, green overalls.
So I've also discovered a love of more exciting clothing colors. Now don't get me wrong, black and I are still bros, but I'm trying to branch out into fun colors now too. So I knew I wanted the desk to be a deep brown, but I really struggle sometimes with my brown mixes just kind of looking like poo. You know what I mean? Like, look out into the world. There are so many beautiful shades of brown, but the brown on my palette looks like it came out of a toilet. I get really self-conscious about that, and I kind of just try to avoid painting browns. But once again, this was a sketchbook painting, and I was like,
Nope, the desk is gonna be brown and it's gonna look good.
So without really thinking, I started just slapping some paint on. I've really been trying to create some interest even in areas of flat color like a piece of furniture or a wall. I wanted to create some subtle color vibrations in the desk, so I added some greener browns in some areas, some redder browns in others, and tried to create some interesting brushstrokes. I'm actually really proud of how this part turned out in the end. So while I'm painting some plants, let's chat a little bit about the future of this YouTube channel. I've been thinking a lot lately about how intense it is to try to put out a new video each week. There's a lot that goes into making a video. I mean, for one, the art, that's kind of important. But there's also filming B-roll and writing and recording a script, editing audio, editing footage, choosing music, adding fun little elements like text and sound effects. I've been kind of running out of ideas on what to talk about, and I don't really want to just upload the footage. I know there are plenty of artists that do that, but I really enjoy chatting with you guys and sharing my process and sharing the story behind a piece or talking about a new topic that I've been thinking about. I almost wasn't going to make a video this week because I didn't want to just make a rambly video about nothing. I don't want to speak if I don't really have anything to say. But once again, the Make Art Don't Starve podcast came in clutch and made a new episode about how art vlogs are kind of turning stale, and it hit me that this is exactly how I've been feeling about some of my own videos. Let me explain. Now, I love aesthetic shots as much as the next person, but so many art vlogs have become more about scenery and lifestyle than about the art. And I don't really like that. Now, there's nothing wrong with those videos per se, but it's not my cup of tea. If I want to watch someone make art in an art vlog, I want to watch them, now get this,
Make art.
I don't want to see them making their breakfast and then brushing their teeth, then walking their dog, then getting out their paints, then painting for 2 seconds and watching Netflix for the next 2 hours. You feel me? Now, if you see a really pretty tree that really inspired you, I'm totally okay with seeing that. Maybe your dog came into your studio and stepped on your painting and then tracked paw prints all around the house. I'm also okay with seeing that. But I want the majority of the footage to be about the artwork. For me personally, I like a slower paced video that lets me just sit and breathe and enjoy watching someone else enjoy making something without being super overstimulated. If I wanted a lifestyle vlog, I'd search for it. All this being said, I don't want to spend time filming a bunch of B-roll that has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm making, simply because a lot of other people are doing it. I also don't want to be filming my entire life every second of the day. Don't get me wrong, I really love sharing my art with you guys, but I also have a life outside of social media. I also don't want to feel pressured to put out a video each week of me just rambling over some painting footage that doesn't really provide value for anyone. I want my footage to be relatable and informative, and I want my audio to be educational or even simply entertaining. I want to be a channel that people come to for a good time, not just because there's a new video each week. I also have had less and less time to paint, and as an artist, painting is slightly important, and I want to make more time for that. All this to say, I think I'm going to be taking a step back from posting every week. I want to take my time and tell a good story with each video and really provide value to people. I really want to put in the effort, and with where I'm at in my career right now, I just can't sustainably put in that kind of effort every single week. Yes, I'm still going to be making videos, just maybe not at the same frequency that I have been. I really want to commit to doing my best with this. All that said, let's get back to the painting. So her keyboard and computer mouse were based off of my own.
Wow.
I love the golden yellow and that vintage kind of typewriter aesthetic. I've been working on making my own workspace a really cozy place to be, and I wanted to pass that on to this little character's face too. Her hands, They gave me no end of trial and tribulation. I just wanted to cry. First there was no form, then I went too heavy on the shadows, then I tried to lighten it and it turned gray. I eventually moved on to another area of the painting so I could take a little bit of a breather from it. I really love how Bluebirdie on Instagram paints hands and feet. They're so dynamic and interesting to look at, and I've been doing some studies of her work, but I gotta tell you, it did not rub off on this painting. By the end, I got it to a point that I didn't completely hate, and decided that this was good enough for the piece. Nothing's ever gonna be 100% perfect, so. Her coffee mug felt a little bit flat to me, especially next to the computer mouse, so I decided to add a little bit of personality with a floral design. I've really been enjoying adding patterns and designs to different objects and fabrics in my illustrations, and I thought that this would fit really well with the rest of the painting. I almost added a plaid design to the overalls, but I ended up nixing that idea. I didn't want to make the piece too busy, and there were already lots of plants everywhere, so I did end up adding some stitching to the pocket for a little added interest. So I was looking at the piece, and I kind of wanted to break up the background a bit. It just felt very flat and like it was leading your eye off of the page. So I was noodling around with the idea of adding like a sun ray type situation. My window was open at the time and cast this really nice shadow on my page, so I could kind of get an idea of what that would look like. It also gave me a really nice line to trace too. Now I lost count of the number of times that I used dry brushing in this piece. A lot, that's how many. I adore the texture that dry brushing gives. It always looks so effortless and beautiful. I'm in love with dry brushing. For the plant on the bottom, I didn't want to make it too distracting, so I just switched some dark green around, then slowly built up more and more defined leaves on top of it. I did bring in some dry brushing here too because, I couldn't stop myself. That shadow at the top just wasn't really looking dark enough, so I went back in with a bit darker wash, but I was a little too heavy-handed and it reactivated the paint underneath, and it got a little smudgy. So I used this as an excuse to add some of those little dotty spotty bits later. This had also smudged her hair a bit, so I looked at it as an opportunity to do a better job on her hair the second go around. I wanted to simplify it as much as I could, and I also wanted to add some little curls around the silhouette of her hair. So I knew from the beginning that I wanted the character to have glasses, but I'm not gonna lie, I panic a little bit painting glasses. So I used a colored pencil to create an outline for me to follow because I just wasn't really confident in painting them freehand. I also added a little to-do list under her coffee cup. The keyboard to the computer mouse to the coffee cup was creating this invisible line that just looked, it looked too pristine, so I thought an off-kilter piece of paper would kind of help break that up a little bit. Then it was time for the magical little dots of happiness around the edge of the shadow line. I tried to focus these mostly around her face to help draw attention to the character. I added a little steam swirl to the coffee cup. I am a very big fan of steam swirls. And now for the most satisfying part, the tape peel. All in all, I'm really happy with how this piece turned out. I had a really good time painting it, which in my book, that alone makes it successful. I'm excited to start taking the time to make videos that I'm proud of and sharing them with you all, even if it's on a slightly less frequent schedule. Huge thank you to my lovely patrons for helping to support this video, and thank you for watching and hanging out with me. If you're interested in supporting me in my art journey, then head on over to Patreon to join our little community there. And if you're interested in owning some of my artwork, check out my Etsy shop, which is now full of lots of exciting new products. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye guys!